Hey guys, YouTuber100 here. Alright, and now continuing with my countdown of reviews for my picks for the next top 10 best hand-drawn animated Disney movies. Now here I am with my review for what I have in the number 8 spot, which is Pocahontas. So, when this movie was released, it had kind of a mixed reaction to it. I mean, not everybody really liked this film, and I've seen like some videos of people that really were not really big fans of this film. Like, I watched Nostalgia Critic's Disney Summer review for this film, and he really was not that big of a fan of this film. Yeah, he actually said that he feels that this film really was like the beginning of the downfall of Disney animated films, which that's really not the case at all. I mean, yeah, Disney was still like on a roll with their films after this film. So, yeah, that's really not true. But yeah, he's not the biggest fan of this film. And yeah, CinemaSins has also made a video on this film and everything wrong with Pocahontas, and yeah, they've said that like they really don't like this film at all. So yeah, and even like it had kind of a mixed critical reaction as well. So yeah, not everyone really liked this film, but I watched this film a lot growing up, and I really did like it. I mean, I watched this film like tons of times growing up, and I really did like this film. I mean, I really did enjoy watching it. I mean, it just yeah, well, it's probably like really not as strong as like a lot of the other Disney films that came out during that time. It is still like enjoyable to watch. I mean, this one, this is probably more like geared to a film that really is like more geared for kids than it is really adults. I mean, yeah, I think that adults watching this really like this really wouldn't get much enjoyment out of adults like some other Disney films at the time, and even like Disney films historically. But I think like overall, it's really more geared to the kids. I think like kids would enjoy this film a lot more than adults would. So yeah, it is like more geared to the kids. But yeah, I liked it, and yeah, I was like, yeah, was a film that I really did watch a lot growing up, and yeah, I really did like it a lot. I mean, yeah, I did enjoy like the characters in this. Like I did like Pocahontas, and I liked John Smith, and yeah, I liked like the side characters as well. So yeah, I mean, I did like this film just fine, and I think the characters are like they're enjoyable to watch. I mean, yeah, this film does have like a pretty like a decent cast really. I mean, this film has voice talents like Mel Gibson, David Ogden Stiers, Russell Means, Linda Hunt, Christian Bale. So yeah, this film does have like a decent cast to it. Yeah. Yeah, and the characters are like pretty good. I mean, the songs in this film I really do like. I mean, the voice actress for Pocahontas just yeah, she's just like an amazing singer. I mean, the two songs Pocahontas sings in this film, just Around the Riverbend and Colors of the Wind. Gosh, Pocahontas' singing voice is just absolutely amazing. Like her voice is just oh man. I mean, it's just an amazing singing voice to hear. It is just so great. And yeah, but yeah, I do like the other songs in this film as well. Like Savages, I really do like. Mine, 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 I think is a pretty good song as well. So yeah, I did like the songs in this film. And yeah, yeah. So yeah, I do have quite a lot of enjoyment out of this film. I mean, I like the character and I like the songs. I mean, the premise overall, like the story for this film, the story is probably one of the major things that this movie gets criticized on, because one major criticism this movie gets is its real inaccuracy to the true tale of Pocahontas. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Disney really did with this film that really was not how the actual tale of Pocahontas was. I mean, it was like one of the big things about this film, of its inaccuracy, is really Pocahontas' age. Like, I really don't know exactly how old Pocahontas really is in this film. I have to assume that she's maybe like in her late teenage years. She's probably around like 16 to 18 years old in this film, probably. And like in the actual tale, like in when she actually met John Smith, she was only about like 11. So yeah, that's one thing this movie really has like real inaccuracy too. But I think the people who say that really need that complain about the inaccuracy, they should like really remember that this is really like more of a fictionalized version of the story. Like it's not really like something to really explain like the true tale of it. So yeah, it really is like taking like kind of a more kid-friendly approach to it than it is really like telling the story like exactly the way that it happened. So yeah, I think that's something that people really should really like take into account whenever they do complain about this film. But yeah, overall I do like this film enough. I mean, if I did have like one major thing to complain about that I really didn't like about this movie, it would probably be the ending. Just this ending, I really was not a fan of at all. I mean, the ending for this film, I really feel just kind of like really ruins this story because, yeah, the ending for this film, I just really don't. It really just doesn't make a lot of sense. And plus, like, because of this ending, this really then just led to what we get in the sequel, which just totally, the sequel just totally ruined absolutely just everything that this film was working towards. So, yeah, that's something that something that I don't like about this film. But yeah, because yeah, that the stuff with the sequel, that's a whole nother story in itself. So yeah, I won't really talk about that too much. But yeah, overall, I did like this film. Enough. Like I did watch it tons of times as a kid, and yeah, even now I can still really watch it and get enjoyment out of it. So yeah, I really thought that this was a pretty good film overall. Despite that, it is kind of like inaccurate to the true tale, as I said, and like some things about it really don't work. But you know, the stuff that does work, it is very enjoyable. Like I said, I really like the songs in this. I think the characters are enjoyable to watch, and so yeah, it's good. So yeah, I would give this film 3.5 stars out of 4. I mean, not really like a masterpiece and stuff, and probably like definitely like not as great as like a lot of the other films of the Disney Renaissance. I mean, yeah, this was just coming off the heels of The Lion King. So yeah, if you really compare this film to The Lion King, you can really like you can see like this film kind of like it does take kind of quite the drop down from The Lion King, but it is still like a good film nonetheless. Okay, so yeah, let me just get right into the story. Alright, so the film is set in the year 1607, and in London it shows the Susan Constance sailing to the New World from the Virginia Company. Yeah, it has a like John Smith like joins on the journey along with some other other settlers. Like there's this like an inexperienced crewmate Thomas, who was voiced by Christian Bale. So yeah, this was really like when Christian Bale really was just a nobody. So yeah, and I like made a joke about it before. I mean, can you imagine if Christian Bale actually like provide the voice of Thomas like with his Batman voice? Yeah, I mean, yeah, can you imagine how that would have turned out? Yeah. And also, the Governor John Ratcliffe also joins on the journey as well because he's on the journey to look for gold for some wealth and status. And yeah, and then as they sailed off on their uh, journey, their voyage, I should say, like as they're sailing off, it then like it shows that they end up being caught in a storm, and then like Thomas ends up like falling overboard, and John Smith jumps in the water to rescue him and stuff. And so yeah, John Smith is really like looked at as a like really courageous hero by the crew throughout this film, and even like during this voyage, he was looked at as a real courageous comrade. So yeah, and then yeah, and eventually, like as they were like starting to approach the new world, they were just talking about everything that they would be able to do on this journey, like the adventures and finding gold, and even like fighting the engines, and even like settling in the new land and like just making it their new kingdom. So yeah. And then as they were arriving in the new land, and then like during as the opening credits were rolling, it then like just showed the tribe and Sena Komaka, is that how it's said? And yeah, and the chief po- Paladin and like their tribe of warriors are just returning home from a battle with an enemy tribe or just like an enemy group or something. Yeah, they never actually really do like say like what the actual enemy is are and what their culture really is and stuff. So yeah, they never actually touch upon that. But yeah, the tribe is just returning from a battle with an enemy, and so then yeah, and then it also does show a Pocahontas like she's a real adventurous uh, girl for her age, and it's showing like she's like really up high on a cliff over a river, and then once Pocahontas hears that her father returned, then she just really just like jumped right off the cliff and then just like basically was doing a swan dive down into the water, and so yeah, that was just yeah, I do like how Pocahontas really is like very adventurous in this film and doing that, so yeah, and and then she greets her father and welcomes him home. And she also, her father Powhatan also tells her that she is like a right what like a right marriage for another warrior in the tribe Kocoum. And Pocahontas really like did not like the idea of marrying Kocoum, and she was just telling her father that she has had a recurring dream, and she feels that it's leading her in another direction than to marry Kocoum. But yeah, Paladin was just like telling Pocahontas that marrying Kocoum would be the right path for her, and he also ended up like giving her a necklace that belonged to Pocahontas' mother. And then eventually Pocahontas then then paid a visit to her quote unquote grandmother Willow, who was like a spiritual talking tree. So yeah, this of course was something that was an act that obviously is not part of the true tale. So yeah, I guess we really don't count this as one of the inaccuracies to the true tale. So yeah, but yeah, Pocahontas was telling grandmother Willow about her dream, and she was like telling her that her dream involved like a spinning arrow that just continued to spin faster and faster, and then suddenly stopped. And then, yeah, she was just trying to figure out what it really meant, and then grandmother Willow was just telling Pocahontas to really like trust her spirits and stuff, and just see within her spirit and so forth. And then, yeah, she then just told Pocahontas to just follow her paths and dreams, and then Pocahontas then like saw the Susan Constant approaching, and then like she just saw their white sails, and she just referred to them as strange clouds. Yeah. And then yeah, Pocahontas then was just interested in seeing some more of their of what these visitors hers actually were doing there, and also Powhatan and other members of the tribe learned of the arrival of them as well, and then they were just like Powhatan just decided to send some people down to really learn more about the visitors and who they're really dealing with, because yeah, Coco was suggesting that they just basically like just destroy the invading visitors and just basically like destroy them the same way they did with their enemies. But Paladin just told Coquam that before they actually knew how to deal with their enemies, but with this one, since they really don't know much about what they're dealing with, he then decided to just send some of the tribe down just to see what kind of people they were actually dealing with. And so then, yeah, Radcliffe then just had the men like build their new kind of a their camp down, and yeah, Radcliffe just decided to name the new land Jamestown in honor of like the king of London or something, yeah. And yeah, he was having just the men dig for gold as John Smith then just went to explore the wilderness. And as he did, then he like felt that he was actually like being watched by a native. I'll just say natives, not actual like Indian stuff, because yeah, Indians are from India, so I'll just refer to Pocahontas and her tribe as natives. Yeah. Yeah, and then yeah, he then eventually did and come across Pocahontas, and I really did like how they actually did play out how the first encounter with John Smith and Pocahontas, like John Smith was just getting ready to shoot down the native that was spying on him, and then when he finally saw Pocahontas, it just showed like there was no dialogue, it just had the both of them just staring at each other, and it was like for a couple of minutes how there was really not a word spoken. They were just looking at each other, and then yeah, as Pocahontas was gonna just run off, then John Smith then just assured Pocahontas he wasn't gonna hurt her, and then and yeah, this basically then just Pocahontas just like was reminded of like what Grandmother Willow had told her before, and then yeah, Pocahontas and John Smith then introduced themselves to each other. Yeah, yeah. And then as a Kocoum and a couple other natives were like just spying on Radcliffe and the and his men and the crew. Yeah, yeah. Then like one of the natives ended up being spotted, and then yeah, a small little battle ensued between the crew and the natives, and yeah, then after one native ended up like getting wounded after a gunshot, and like uh, Paladin then just decided that the their visitors are dangerous, and so they must destroy them. And so they then set out for help from their other brothers, as they referred to them, which were just other native warriors. And so they set out messages for help from them. And then, yeah, Paladin then just ordered that no members of the tribe actually go near the white men. But of course, like Pocahontas was with the John Smith, and yeah, Pocahontas and John Smith were then just like telling each other about their world, and you know, they were just telling each other how they say hello. John Smith told Pocahontas they shake hands, and Pocahontas told John Smith that the way they say hello was wingapo, and how they say goodbye was ana. And well, Pocahontas's friend raccoon Miko was really interested in John Smith and what he had, and yeah, John Smith ended up giving Miko some biscuits, and then yeah, then Miko saw that John Smith, also had a compass with him, and yeah, John Smith then just ended up giving the compass to Miko, and then John Smith started just telling Pocahontas about his homeland in London, and yeah, then like John Smith was then just starting to really just say how Pocahontas's world really is not very civilized, and really just kind of like criticizing their homes and stuff. And then yeah, Pocahontas took it real personally. And then after John Smith like was kind of like started referring to like other type of people as savages, then like Pocahontas then just took that real personally. And then yeah, she just just, was just telling John Smith that when he means savages, he means the people that are really not like him and his men. Until then, they had the Colors of the Wind song, just as Pocahontas was just really telling John Smith how there's really like no, all people really don't, other people really don't look and act the same way. They really are still people. Well, yeah. And then later on, like as Pocahontas and just like had to leave, then like it showed that John Smith and Pocahontas both were kind of like acting differently to their their own people. And yeah, John Smith eventually like ended up like stowing away from his camp again to see Pocahontas, and then he then ended up like coming across Pocahontas again, as Pocahontas's best friend Nakoma was there also, and so then Nakoma then like found out that Pocahontas was actually seeing one of their enemies, as they referred to them. Yeah, yeah, but yeah, Pocahontas just told Nakoma not to tell anybody about it. Yeah. And yeah, John Smith then just ended up like telling Pocahontas what he and his men are actually there for, to take gold. And then when he showed Pocahontas what gold really was, Pocahontas just told John Smith that they actually don't have any gold there. And then that's when John Smith then ended up meeting Grandmother Willow. Oh, and then as he was talking to them, two of John Smith's other crewmen, Ben and Lon, were sent by Radcliffe to try to find John Smith, and then Grandmother Willow ended up just like tripping them and then using her branches to just smack them away. Yeah. Yeah. And then eventually, like, the other warriors then arrived to help Pocahontas or Powhatan's tribe to take out the Radcliffe and his crew. And both Pocahontas and John Smith were trying to talk to their people to try to convince the others that they shouldn't have to fight the other ones. And Pocahontas was trying to tell her father that they should just try talking to the white men, and Powhatan just said that the white men didn't want to talk, but Pocahontas asked if they did want to talk, if he would talk to them, and Powhatan said yes. And with John Smith, when he was trying to convince Radcliffe and his men about it, and he told them that there was no gold there, Radcliffe didn't believe it, and he still was continuing on with his mission. And yeah, Radcliffe basically just told John Smith and his men that any men that actually do spare any natives, will actually pretty much be hanged. And then yeah, Pocahontas then sneaked off to see John Smith again, and Nakoma saw it again, and so then she ended up pretty much telling Kokom Pocahontas was in trouble. And yeah, John Smith also ended up sneaking off as well, and Thomas saw it, and Radcliffe sent John Smith off to, he sent Thomas off to find out exactly where John Smith was sneaking off to, and also told Thomas that if he saw any of the natives to shoot them. Yeah. And then, yeah, John Smith and Pocahontas met with Grandmother Willow again, and also Miko ended up meeting Radcliffe's pet dog, Percy, and so yeah, they had kind of an animosity for each other at first, but then they became friends later on. Yeah, and then Pocahontas just told John Smith that he had to come with her to try to talk to her father about bringing peace, and with some convincing from Grandmother Willow, John Smith agreed to it, and then as John Smith and Pocahontas were then kissing, both Thomas and Kokom were nearby, and they saw the kiss, and then yeah, Kokom then just charged at John Smith and just was trying to kill him, and as Pocahontas was trying to pull Kokom off of John Smith, then Thomas then ended up shooting and killing Kokom, and as Kokom just was falling back, he ended up pulling Pocahontas' mother's necklace off of her, destroying it. Yeah. And then yeah, then John Smith could hear other members of the tribe approaching, and so he then sent Thomas this away. Hey, and then yeah, the tribe then arrived and then just captured John Smith. And then yeah, Powhatan then just condemned John Smith to die at sunrise, and Pocahontas was trying to tell her father that it doesn't have to be this way, but Powhatan, he of course was not happy with Pocahontas' disobedience for his orders, and so he didn't even listen to her at all, and he basically just blamed Kokom's death on Pocahontas. Yeah. And then yeah, then Pocahontas, as she was trying to talk to John Smith after his capture, like she was just trying to tell him that it would be better if they never met, and John Smith just told Pocahontas that he'd rather die than live 100 years without knowing her, and he told Pocahontas that no matter what happens, he'll always be with her forever. And then Thomas arrived back at Jamestown and told the other men that John Smith was captured. And so, yeah, Thomas, of course, knew that they had to try to save John Smith, and yeah, Radcliffe then rallied the men for battle, and of course Radcliffe was just using this whole thing as an excuse to take out the tribe and find the gold that he still believed existed. And so then yeah, both the Radcliffe's men and the tribe were preparing for battle, with the Savages song, yeah. And yeah, as Pocahontas was visiting Grandmother Willow again, Grandmother Willow just tr- was trying to tell Pocahontas that she has to try to stop her people from destroying John Smith. And then Pocahontas was just saying that she felt so lost. And then Miko like gave her the compass again. And then Pocahontas saw that the arrow in the compass was the spinning arrow from her dream. Which and then yeah, this was like leading to her destiny. And so then that's when the sun rose. And then yeah, Grandmother Willow then just told Pocahontas to let the spirit of the earth guide her, and now to follow her path that she knows it. And so then, yeah, both the Radcliffe's men and the tribe then like went to a cliff that was like overlooking a clearing and for execution. And yeah, as Powhatan was about to beat John Smith in, and like Pocahontas then just leaned over John Smith and stopped Powhatan from actually doing anything, and she just told her father that she loved John Smith, and just everything that was around them was where hatred had brought them. And so, yeah, Pocahontas just told her father that this is the path she's choosing, and, and then yeah, after like just seeing all the surroundings, then Powhatan then just announced that he won't start any more killings, and so then he, he then released John Smith, and then as the natives then just lowered their bows, Radcliffe like thought that the natives were just trying to trick them, and so he still ordered his men to fire, but they all refused, and so then Radcliffe decided to handle it himself, and so then he was aiming to shoot at Powhatan, but yeah, John Smith saw what Radcliffe was about to do, and so he pushed Powhatan out of the way, and the shot ended up hitting John Smith. And so then, and yeah, all of Radcliffe's men ended up just arresting him, and yeah, they all ended up just turning on him and just chaining him up and gagging him, and then John Smith was forced to like go back to England for treatment. And yeah, Radcliffe also ended up being sent back as well to pay for his crimes. Yeah, and before John Smith had left, Pocahontas and her people came to see him, and Powhatan told John Smith that he's always welcome among the people, and also Percy, Miko, and Flit, Pocahontas' friend Hummingbird, then gave Pocahontas her mother's necklace back, and they ended up fixing it, yeah. And when John Smith asked Pocahontas if she would come with him, she just told Pocahontas that she's needed there, and she just told John Smith the same thing he told her. That no matter what happens, she'll always be with him forever. And yeah, like I said, this ending just makes no sense at all, and it leads to what we just in the sequel. This everything this film was working towards was ruin. But yeah, and yeah, then John Smith ended up being shipped away, and it just showed Pocahontas looking on from the high cliff, and yeah, they just did their nods to each other, and then yeah, it just showed Pocahontas looking on as John Smith was sailed away in the ship, and that's how it ended. So yeah, not a fan of the ending, but the rest of the film overall I do really enjoy. It is a good film overall. People really are just they should really look at this as really just a more fictionalized, kid-friendly version of the tale, and not really a fully like representation of the tale of how it really happened. But yeah, it is a really good film. I really do enjoy it a lot. 3.5 stars out of 4, like I said. Alright, that's all I really have to say about it. So this does it for my review of Pocahontas. So I hope you guys enjoyed this review. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.